Alright guys, welcome back to another video. This is Bombshell, my brand new male, gorgeous crested gecko. I mean, look at him. I'm just trying to show him off while we do this little intro. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than normal. I'm not doing a normal intro and outro. We're just going to get straight to the meat and potatoes of today's video. And that is going to be showing you guys the 3 different style tanks I make for my crested geckos. We're going to show you guys baby style tanks that I set up. We're also going to show you juvenile tanks, which is a rack system. And then we're also going to show you guys the typical, I would say, style of tank that I have for my adult crested geckos. So definitely a very entertaining video, definitely one that a lot of people have been asking me for. I did a community tab post and that's what you guys wanted to see. Oh, he's trying to jump. And that's what you guys wanted to see, so that's what you guys are going to get today. So sit back and enjoy. Alright guys, so like I said, we're going to show you 3 different sizes. And the first one we're going to show you is babies, the second one we're going to show you is juveniles, and the third one we're going to show you is adults. So with babies, I keep them in these 6-quart shoe totes. It's a lot easier than using a rack system for me, honestly, and it's way cheaper, so why not? But basically, the amount of holes I drill in this size tank for where I live and my humidity levels, 2 rows, so 1, 2 of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh yeah, ignore the lay boxes that I'm working on and then like the garbage and all that stuff. Just ignore that stuff. But anyway, we're in the reptile room, so ignore that, sorry. Anyway, basically you want 2 rows of 7 on each side. That's what I do. And I spray this at least once a day, sometimes twice a day. Usually once a day in the summer and twice a day in the winter. A little bit more work because it's a little bit more dry and not as humid in the winter for me, so that's what I have to do for them. But this is how I set it up. This is actually a quarantine tank too, so it's a little bit more bare than I typically like it, but that's the way I want to do it right now because these guys are still in quarantine. But basically I put like a plant or something on a good half of the enclosure. Usually I have some more like climbing ledges or things like that. I also need to run to Ace because I've got to replace some and I have to get these new ones some, so this one will be getting that too, but just not yet. I usually include a hide, like a paper towel roll or half of a paper towel roll, and then their food and water dish, and that's how I set up my baby tanks. And I usually keep them in here until they are about anywhere from 8 to 10-ish grams. And once they hit that 8 to 10-ish gram mark, I move them to the juvenile tank, which that's what I'm going to show you guys next is the juvenile tanks. Really quickly though, this is the new girl that we just got that you guys saw in the last video, the unboxing. Super cute girl. I mean, I just want to show you guys her again really quickly. Look at all those ink spots, man, and she is little. So high hopes for her. She looks gorgeous. Cannot wait to see what this one develops like and looks like because whew. Alright guys, if you haven't seen, we built a whole rack system. We have a whole video on that if you guys want to see. Look in the description. So this is how I do my mediums, how I set them up. And this is basically geckos that are anywhere from that 8 to 10-ish gram mark when you're moving them up until 20-ish grams, depends on if they have a tail or if not, before they go into their adult tank. But this is going to be their grow out tank. I basically like to include a plant or 2, a hide, a food and a water dish, and then at least 1 branch, if not more. But like I said, I'm running low, so I only have 1 in this tank right now. I need to go to the store and get more, but this is basically what I do. And then a paper towel on the bottom. I clean it out probably 2 to 3 times a week. I know that sounds crazy, but every single time I clean, geckos just make it dirty, or they walk in their food, or they poop everywhere, or just, you know, a lot of things. So gotta clean it multiple times a week, but this is how I set it up. I like to give them a lot of climbing space, a lot of different things to jump on and jump through, so I'm definitely adding more climbing things to a lot more enclosures. Like this one doesn't even have one. I really need to go to the store. I'm actually gonna do that tomorrow. But yeah, so that is on the to-do list. But this is how I do the medium tanks. I keep getting sidetracked, sorry guys. This is how I do them. I think it works very well. I used to have them in totes the same way that I did the small ones, but just space-wise, this rack works just so much better. I need to clean this tank. He totally destroyed it. Like I said, I literally just cleaned these tanks in one night, and that's what it was. So thank you for that, buddy. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, by the way, A is actually going to be going on our morph market when we start selling them. So is this one. This one is M. I'll actually pull M out to show you guys if you guys are interested. Come on, buddy. Come on. I believe M is going to be a female. I would have to pour sex, but I don't want to do that and then somebody get mad if I'm wrong. So this is M, little cutie. Alright guys, so that's the medium tanks. Now let me show you how I make my adult tanks. Oh, well, by the way, if you do end up using the totes instead of the rack system, which I understand if you only have a couple, I believe they're like 17 quart totes, but I'd probably move them out a little bit faster than 20 grams because they don't really have a ton of climbing space. So if you're going that route, probably move them out before 20 grams because they need more climbing space. Just monitor them eating when you move them to the adult tank, but we'll talk about that in a second. Alright guys, so this is what I would use for my adult crested geckos and what I use for my breeding groups. Well, not groups, it's just pairs. But this is basically what I use. It's a 66 quart tote, Sterilite tote. It's got the latching lid right here, obviously, as you guys can see. But I'll show you guys how I configure the holes on the two sides in a second. But first, I'll show you what's actually in their tank. So with their tank, I always do paper towel. As you guys know, I'm a breeder, so it's hard for me to do bioactive tanks. Paper towels honestly just make it so much easier for me to clean and keep everything nice and sterile and clean. And then I also give them a lay box that's right there, or a humid height. If it's males, they don't need a lay box, but I do like to include a humid height or somewhere where they can dig and have some natural abilities. There's usually at least 2 plants. Now for breeding groups, I usually would have like probably another like 2 plants right here to include at least half of the tank being covered. I would also include another branch or 2, but since this is for just one gecko, it's not fully, you know, decked out right now because they're not even breeding. So or this one's not breeding right now, so I basically include the 2 plants. I like to include them up where they can hide. As you guys can see, I don't know if you can see, but Dory's right there hiding on her branch in the leaves, so that's kind of cool, kind of natural for them. I like to include that, and then as you guys can see on the bottom, if she wanted to, she could go down there and hide under there as well. Alright, so this stuff right here is just pipe insulator cover. Some people use pool noodles, some people use PVC. I have a whole video on different branches or different things you could do for branches for your crested gecko tank, so make sure you guys watch that after this video if you are interested in that. I'm not going to spend too much time on that today, but I also use PVC and suction cups. That works very well. It kind of lasts longer, but this stuff is a lot easier and cheaper. Well, there's good and bad things about both. There's pros and cons. I also include a food and a water dish, which as you guys can see, I don't know if she ate last night, but that's fine. Yeah, and another thing about the water dish, people don't know this, or people say that they don't drink out of them, but crested geckos do drink out of those. If you missed the short that I made a short all about it, saying and showing you guys my crested gecko drinking from one. They do use water bowls, so make sure that you do include them in your tanks, in every single crested gecko tank. Obviously, if it's a smaller one, you can give them a smaller water, but definitely include those. Like I said, paper towel substrate, usually at least 1 if not 2 paper towel rolls, and then a lay box, like I said, or a humid height for the males. Basically what we do for setting up their tank, I like to include, like I said, a few different branches where they can jump and have the ability to climb, because these aren't the biggest tanks tall wise. I think they're about 17 inches tall. It's not ideal. I'd like them to be a little bit taller, but I like to include a lot of climbing spaces for them to be able to climb around. Some tanks even have like coconuts and like different heights. It just kind of depends, and I like to switch it up a little bit too. So like if I'm going through and cleaning adults, I'll kind of like go and take their plants and wash them all, and sometimes I'll swap them out and switch different things, but you know, it just kind of depends. All right, so let me show you how the holes are configured, and it's very, very simple. There's basically 3 rows. So there's a row here and a row here. They're identical rows, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 of them along there, and then the last row is right in between those holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a row of 6, a row of 5, and a row of 6. Basically 2 identical rows and then 1 row in between all the holes, as you guys can see. That's what I do on both sides, front and back. That way there's some nice airflow in your tank. I'll give you guys a better look of the tank. As you guys can see, it doesn't really look like much because it's not anything like bioactive, but they have a ton of space. They actually use these, they climb around on these, they lay in on over the plants everywhere. I mean, they love it. This is a good setup for somebody who either doesn't have a lot of money or is breeding and needs like a clean, convenient way to clean. This works perfectly. I love these style tanks. I definitely recommend these. Another thing I sometimes have too is the trees that I got from PANGEA, which it's like a bendable tree you can have in here, and they actually fit in these totes. it creates a ton of extra additional climbing space. You can fill little holes like this a lot easier with that. So I have those in a lot of these tanks. Dory does not have one yet, but she'll have one when she starts breeding. And that'll probably go in that other hole, and then we'll add another plant either over here or over there in there as well, so they have places to climb and get away from each other. But you know, also so she's not stressed, the male wouldn't be stressed, and nobody's stressed. Not that the males necessarily get stressed, but I'm just saying, you guys know what I'm trying to say. I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. Definitely give me a thumbs up if it helped you. Share it with your friends. Shoot me a comment if you learned anything or have any advice or think of any ideas I could use to change, you know, kind of my system of what I do. And I look forward to seeing you guys in my next one. Sorry, this one was kind of a little bit different. Didn't really have an intro or really an outro. It's just me kind of talking. It's been a rough week, and I'm trying to get a video out to you guys because next week's video is going to be a banger. I'm going to spend probably the next week working on it, thinking it's going to be the Crested Gecko care guide, so make sure you guys stick around. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. Also, one more thing, we just hit 3,000 subscribers, so thank you guys so freaking much for liking, following, subscribing. I cannot thank you guys enough. Thank you for the support, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.